The best advice to be here, be now. It's like it's all here and you can't escape it.
Yeah, right.
The worst advice is be here, be now. It's all here and you can't escape it. And so you take the good with the bad and just be here. At the end of the day, just be here. It works both ways.
Yeah.
But it works for the greater good.
Beautiful.
Better than the lesser good.
Hey everyone, welcome to my brand new podcast, For Soul's Sake, which I'm aiming to open up on spirituality and holistic wellness alongside a host of amazing guests. I love sitting down with people from different backgrounds and walks of life who are adding meaning, impact, and spiritual purpose into the world, that have an incredible presence and use it to do good. And today's guest is someone who has been so kind to me, so gracious to me, and our first interaction was back in November of last year when he attended my Bhakti Day retreat in Hertfordshire, and we really connected on the deeper truths of life. And when this guest said yes to coming on and being the first guest on my brand new podcast, I was over the moon because I love his energy, I follow and admire his work, and I knew even before pressing record that it would be full of deep insight. So today's guest is none other than Londrelle, a musician, author, and poet whose works, words, and poetry are deeply inspired by Eastern philosophy and Vedic literature. As an independent artist, Londrelle has released 9 studio albums, his most famous being Stay Free. As a self-published author, he has released 3 books, a self-help poetry book, Eternal Sunshine, and his most recent book, Self-Care Package, Healing Through The Chakras, which help inspire minds and nurture souls along the spiritual path. Londrelle is the creator and voice of the popular mindfulness and meditation app, Eternal Sunshine, which provides daily inspiration and mindfulness talks to its over 1 million daily users. Londrelle's art and offerings remain anchored in his desire to serve and remove suffering from the hearts and minds of all souls.
For soul's sake, for soul's sake.
Londrelle, you're incredible. I don't understand. How do you do all that and so young?
Just following the flow, following the spirit, and allowing myself to be used, knowing that I am an instrument.
Wow.
And choosing every day to surrender to that knowing, because we can get in our own way thinking I have to do, or this is all on me. But truly just, having the understanding or the knowing that I'm just an instrument for whatever life wants to do through me. And all these ideas, crazy sometimes and far-fetched sometimes, that come through me, they come to me from a higher source.
Wow.
And so just trusting that everything that comes through me is for me to express, to share, to offer to the world, and to, share with the world. So I enjoy being an instrument. I think I enjoy being used.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Has it always been like that? Have you always felt like that from a young age, or is it something more recent? Because you said something about being used as an instrument, and that sounds almost like we're possessed or something. Or how does the ordinary listener or someone that's got no inclination to spiritual talk, how does one decipher that in the mind?
Knowing that we are not separate from life, just as the fruit is not separate from the tree. We are not separate from life, So knowing that we are expressions of life, and this thing that we call life is so much more grander than what we call our little self. It's like a wave in an ocean. Like sometimes we get caught being the wave and don't realize that, wow, I'm really the ocean. But, I'm stuck in myself. I'm stuck in my individuality. I'm stuck in my egoity. I'm stuck in my identification with myself, that I've forgotten that I'm the ocean. Like I know that I'm the wave, but I'm at the same time simultaneously the ocean. But in this experience, as this Londrelle, I am a wave, but I am also the ocean. So having that relationship with life and God really allows me to surrender and to allow myself to be an instrument, for life.
Wow, just sitting opposite you makes me feel deeply grateful that you're taking the time out. And I can't believe I'm sitting with someone who speaks so poetically. Yeah. And none of that's written down. Like none of it, you're not reading off anything. It's like you're just a living poet. You're a living piece of poetry. It's crazy. And from a young age, were you attracted to spirituality? Was it something that...
No, not even.
Really, yeah?
Not even. I was very resistant to the style of spirituality. Well, not spirituality, religion. We'll call it religion. Just because it didn't speak my language. It didn't speak my language, or the language that it really speaks my language now that I look back and I read scriptures from the Bible or the Quran or the Gita, and it really resonates. But just the style of teaching when I was growing up wasn't the style that I was receptive to, and so it was after many years, like into my 20s, that I came across the Gita, and that was the language of my soul, that poetic language, and it was through my own reading that I received it. But like early in my years, I wasn't attracted to any type of spirituality, religion, or anything, just because it wasn't visible to me. It wasn't visible to me.
There was a clear turning point, I guess, at some point.
Yeah, later in my 20s is when I after I read thousands of books up until then, but later in my 20s I found that one book that really spoke my language of spirituality, religion, and that was the Bhagavad Gita, and that really really took me into spirituality, really took me into the appreciation for all religions, because the Gita is so profound in its expression and so universal in its expression that, things that are said in the Bible or the Quran, they are also spoken about in the Gita. So it connects you to, every other path that you may follow, because it's just that universal language of the soul.
When you speak, it makes me think, like, there's so many different types of people that come to spirituality. There's the inquisitive soul. There's one that's going through distress.
Yeah.
And I'm curious because I know a little bit about your story. We've spoken before.
Yes.
I'm planting a question, and just because I think this story is incredible, and I feel like everyone should hear it, about the way in which you came across. You spoke about the Bhagavad Gita, and of course that's a literature that's very close to my heart. And because I'm, in tune, or trying to be in tune with the process of bhakti yoga, but I think it's too good an opportunity not to have you say your story, to share how you came across this literature and what sparked that kind of moment of delving deeper into your spiritual consciousness.
Yeah, I was definitely deep in distress. I was one of those people coming to know God and seek God out of distress, like and inquisitiveness. Like, what is life? I'm a very inquisitive person. I'm a very inquiring person. So a little bit of that, but more so distress, more so trying to figure out my life and understand my life and understand what life is. So I was on my second run across America. Pretty much. The first run across America was from Atlanta to St. Louis to commemorate, to raise funds, to raise awareness for the wrongful death of Michael Brown, who was killed by a police officer in St. Louis, Missouri. And so me and a friend, we ran about 680 miles from Atlanta to I'm not sure what that's in kilometers, but 680 miles. About 21 days, just 21 days straight running. And in that process, I received, so many just downloads, shedding lots of things and inquiring deeper about life and how do I help serve and how can I serve in my greatest capacity. So after that, I did another tour running from Atlanta to Washington, D.C., the capital city of Washington, D.C. And along that journey, I found the Bhagavad Gita, or the Bhagavad Gita found me. And it was two books actually on the table. It was the Bhagavad Gita and an introduction to Buddhism. And I picked both of them up. But the first book that I read was the Gita, and I studied it, and I read it for like 3-4 years straight before I moved on to the other book, the Introduction to Buddhism. But the language and the verbiage and just the expression and the conversation Krishna and Arjuna was having, it really was, it's truly intriguing. And I still read it every day to this day. Every day I read something from the Gita. Just because it's a beautiful conversation, you can always just a few words can take you on a journey into a deeper understanding of yourself, a deeper understanding of life. It's a bottomless well. It's a bottomless well of wisdom. It's a bottomless well of love. A bottomless well of God realization. And so it just takes you deeper every time. It just takes you deeper every time. No matter how many times you read a line, it just takes you deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's endless. Yeah.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, I mean, I wish my experience with Bhagavad Gita was like that. For me, it was very much pick it up, put it down, pick it up, flick through it, put it down. Because coming from a kind of the Indian background and having access to the Gita from a young age, honestly, I just didn't connect with it the first time. I found it too, I just found it too unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know, I just couldn't connect with the words in the page. But when I hear the experiences of those who, on their first encounter,
Yeah.
find so much deep meaning and spiritual consciousness, even in the verbiage you said, I was like, when you were speaking like that, it kind of sent tingles down my spine. I was like, man, I must have been a fool when I read it the first time. Maybe I was reading a different version of the Gita to you or something. But yeah, it's truly amazing. And I mean, just to keep an open book, do you feel that this is the entry point for all people? Like, you know, say, for example, someone's listening to this that has no inclination or has no previous inclination to spirituality. Do you think their route has to follow the same way? I mean, what would be some advice or some encouragement on that line?
I think every path is a way. Every path is a way to this understanding. Every path is a way to deeper understanding. Every path is a way to into truth. And so it starts with wherever you are. You know, our lives are the spiritual journey. Our lives are the living incarnation of the scriptures. We are the living truth. We are the living word. So, you know, just starting where you are is the best spiritual practice. It's the only spiritual practice because you cannot be anywhere other than where you are, you know, and use the tools that you have at your disposal to seek yourself, you know, and come home to yourself, you know. So the paths are many. The destination is one. I truly believe the paths are many, but the destination is one. So, you know, whatever calls your heart is okay. You know, because it all comes from the source. So whatever calls your heart back to source is truly okay. It's truly the path for you in that moment in time, and it may not be the only path for you. I'm very ambiguous. I'm very versatile in the ways that I approach God because I'm seeking that. I'm seeking truth. I'm seeking God. And I ask God to reveal yourself. And it's not just God is multidimensional, you know, and expresses himself in multidimensional ways and in infinite ways. And so I can just have a conversation with, it's not real, but I can have a conversation with...
It's a plant, by the way, for the listeners.
It's a plant. So I can have a conversation with the plant and inquire, you know, reveal yourself and some bit of God will express itself through it. So if you are seeking, wherever you're seeking, God will find you, you know, and truth will find you. And whatever you're seeking, it will find you exactly where you are and not further or behind or in front of where you are, you know.
How does one seek, though? Like, you know, I'm just thinking when it comes to someone that is seeking, I think the answers are receivable. We sit in the receiver's mood rather than the achiever's mood. We're trying to receive. Okay, we're keeping our minds and consciousnesses, our hearts open to the reality that something is coming if we're open and looking for it. But for someone that's not looking, say, for example, you've got a family member or a friend or someone who has no inclination whatsoever. Do you have any advice for someone like that? Should we even try? Should we even perhaps share something small with them? Or do you think better to let them find the path in their due course of time?
Yeah, I think we're all seeking something. We just don't know it yet.
Right.
Whether it's God or a relationship or love or just financial wealth or financial security, we're all seeking something. And through that something that we are seeking, we can also experience truth. We can also experience God. So again, every path is a way. Whether you're an artist, like I came to God through my artistry,
right?
Through my gift of music, through my gift of song. I wasn't always rapping about God. I wasn't always singing Hare Krishna, you know. And so, but through that, I came here, you know. So whatever you're seeking, whatever your dharma is, whatever your duty is, God can be found in that. And, you know, you don't have to be seeking it initially, but eventually you will find it because, you know, it all comes from source. Yeah. And source and God expresses itself in different ways. And you know, just through conversations or just through, you know, hopping on the tube and meeting a stranger, you know, that's a divine encounter, you know. And so it doesn't have to be seeking truth just outright. It can be seeking just a family. And through that process of nurturing your family, you will find that which you are truly seeking, you know.
Yeah, for us, we can see it from the bigger picture that everything can be an opportunity for a divine touch.
Yes.
But for one that is not conscious to that truth or not conscious to that way of thinking, that's fine. That
totally
they're experiencing divinity in a moment that is relevant for them. You know, like you said, in a moment of conversation where there's love in that conversation, that is still divine.
Yeah.
But maybe they don't see it that way.
Right, yeah. They just see it as ordinary.
Yeah, but
you
that's still, in one sense, still creating space.
Mm-hmm.
So that's beautiful. You mentioned something that I want to delve a little deeper into, which is financial wealth.
Right, yeah.
You know, and I think there's something in our spiritual circles or in, you know, places where we talk a lot about higher consciousness, where there seems to be a taboo when it comes to money, a taboo when it comes to quote unquote financial, material success. And I understand that you cannot receive transcendental realization through a comfortable life. Like you need to, you know, you need to go through periods of reform or periods of hardship in order to really bear fruit of deep consciousness, deep spiritual truth. I fully get that. But I mean, Londrelle, 9 albums, you know, 1 million people listening to your podcast. That's serious stuff. How do you kind of justify in your consciousness, and how do you live with the fact that, yeah, materially speaking, things are going okay for you?
Yeah.
And how do you balance that with kind of spiritual consciousness? What's your kind of way of navigating that is what I'm asking.
Beautiful question. I think there's no conflict. There is no dualism in that. You know, for me, everything is that. Everything is an expression of that. You know, whether it be a blade of grass or $100 bill, it's just an expression of that truth. You know, and only God is real. Only God is real, and that's what I'm seeking. You know, so as I seek God, God gives His gifts, but I don't seek the gifts more than I seek God. You know, and I think that's important for me, is that I don't seek God's gifts more than I seek God. I seek a God beyond all gifts, material or spiritual. I don't seek God for spiritual gifts. I don't seek God for material gifts. I seek God for God and God alone. And I think for me, that's why I've been blessed in certain areas of my life materially, because I seek God and I want to serve God and know God above all else.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, there is no conflict. You know, so I get gifts along the way, but I just let them pass through me. I don't cling to them as they pass through me. So I may have to, you know, spend this much on a certain thing, or I may have to let go of this and, you know, move from here to here to here, but I'm not reaching back. I'm allowing myself to reach higher and higher to truth, and ascend higher and higher into truth. So everything is just, you know, materially is just one stop on the trip to God, you know, and I'm willing to let it all go in a moment's time if God says let it go, you know.
Wow. Remaining detached from the result of our activities.
Yes.
Trying to remain detached from that which comes, but all the while not pushing it away when it does come.
Right, yeah.
Using and utilizing that which comes our way for higher purpose.
Right, yeah.
And I think many spiritualists either are the subconsciously chasing material wealth through their spirituality. Let me provide this service so that I get X amount in return.
Oh, yeah.
But if we were to instead, as spiritualists who are trying to share, or, you know, someone that's listening to this trying to think, okay, how can I make a living on a spiritual path? Because that's beautiful as well, you know, to live through a spiritual means by sharing, by serving, etc. That is beautiful.
Yeah,
You're not
that's
having to work a 9 to 5 that gives you no purpose, but rather by living a job or living and breathing a life which is fueled with service. It's wonderful. It's just kind of navigating one's intention, purifying one's intention all the while. And look, from my perspective, I'm not all the way there. I still like having nice things just for having nice things. And I don't see God in them all the time. But it's a journey. It's a sadhana. It's a practice, right?
Yeah.
It's a practice. I mean, do you have any thoughts on how one practices detachment from result?
Being okay with desires. We all have desires.
Yeah.
For nice things, for maybe not so nice things. We all have desires. And this trip that we're on is just working through our desires. So whatever you desire, you know, it's working through it and not allowing yourself to be gratified by the acquisition of that. You know, not allowing yourself, you know, be grateful and experience the joy of that thing, but knowing that God is the goodness in all things. And that goodness that you feel as you put on your nice suit, that goodness that you feel as you buy a new car, that is the goodness that is God calling you back to God. Wow. So being okay with your desires, but knowing their source, truly knowing what you're truly seeking. But attachment and detachment from what you receive, it's making it an offering to the divine. Making your life an offering to the divine, so that whatever you receive, before you receive it, before you take it on as your own, make it an offering to God and ask God, may you enjoy this through me. And I think we read a prayer. I think was at Omnam.
Yeah.
And I think it was like from the Gita. I forget what it was, what chapter and verse, but it was like Brahma apanam Brahma api Brahma agnu Brahmano dam Brahma avi gantuvyam Brahma karma samadhina.
Wow.
So a person who is fully absorbed in God consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of their full contributions to spiritual activities, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. So treating that thing as though it is an offering unto the divine, and understanding that it goes to God first, and I'm just blessed to receive it. I'm just blessed to experience it, but it's all in service to God. And that really will free us from being attached to what we receive, knowing it's an offering to God.
Wow. Yeah, and look, it's also good to mention at this point that if we can't live our lives like that in totality, the perfection of what you're speaking is so beautiful, because it gives a formula for living with love. It gives a formula for living with deep rooted joy, to just use everything in higher purpose, in God's purpose, in divine purpose. But if someone who's listening to this is feeling this is a high standard to live by, progress is still success.
Right, yeah.
Something that I've been thinking about a lot is this trade-off between progress and perfection, and how sometimes we give up because we aren't the perfect version of humility, the perfect version of detachment, the perfect version of free from lust, the perfect version of grateful all the time. That's all fine.
Yeah.
If we can just make progress on the path, each day be conscious about, okay, this has been received, this money has been received, let me try and engage it in higher purpose. Or this moment of humility, someone's humbled me. Let me not see that as, okay, now I give up on humility because it hurts too much to be humbled. But rather, let me see how I can sit in that humility, and how I can absorb my consciousness and thinking this is a good thing for me. Progress on the path is still success.
Right, yes.
Still success. No?
Yeah, do truly agree that, as we progress, we begin to understand what we're practicing.
Yeah.
Because it's all a practice. There's nothing to become. I don't think there's even such an idea as perfection.
Right.
We've come from perfection, so we are sustained by perfection, and we remain in perfection. So there's truly nothing to become. It's a beautiful blossoming. It's a beautiful unfolding, and wherever you are on your journey, that's just where you are. That's where you are on your journey to becoming. Like if you open up a book and read it from beginning to end, everything's there, and the book is unfolding as you read it. And we're just like that. We're our own little Bibles. We're our own little Gitas. We're our own little books of everything that we are, and it's all there. And we're just every day we're just reading a page of our life. Every day we're just living a page of our life, and we just have to allow ourselves to unfold in that, knowing that there is nothing to become. My whole life is here already. Everything that I'm seeking is here already, and it's just blossoming and blooming into that.
Yeah, I love that analogy. Our life is like a book, which is filled with 365 pages, and we are holding in our hands a pen. We can choose to write in beautiful calligraphy or scratch it out.
Yeah.
But either way, we still got 364 pages left.
Right,
when
yeah.
you turn the page the next day, there's still another chance, blank slate.
Yeah.
You wake up each morning and start with, okay, I've got these eyes, I've got these ears, I've got this mouth, I've got this nose, let me use it for higher purpose. And if I don't, cool, scratch it off. 363 pages left.
And not even each day, but each moment.
Right.
Like we can have conversation. Even we make a mistake on camera, we could still. We don't have to edit it out. We could just still have this conversation. Still, adjust and go where we need to go and change our minds. We are free to change our minds. We are free to come back to our hearts and follow the way of truth and follow the way of love. Because above everything, love take us through and guide us through. And so as we return to our heart space, that really allows us to rewrite the story, to change the narrative, to readjust.
Brother, you speak with so much faith. I feel like I'm getting charged up spiritually. I'm going to go out and just spread the gospel, I'm going to tell everyone in the studio all the wonderful things we're talking about. I want to talk now maybe about some of the hardships. Has there been, it's almost inevitable for someone on a spiritual path. Have there been moments of hardship in your spiritual journey? And would you mind sharing them?
Yes, I wouldn't even think spiritual journey, just life.
Yeah.
Life presents difficulties,
Fully.
and life presents opportunities for growth through difficulties and through perceived misfortune. I like to think that my life has started as a series of misfortunate events. When I was a child, my father, he was murdered when I was 11 months old. So that's a pretty big blow to a child and a family, and especially a family in poverty and living in not inhumane certain circumstances, but just living below their means. My childhood wasn't any more difficult than the death of my father. Very abusive mother, very just not nurturing mother, and so just dealt with a lot of childhood traumas as a child. Became very, I don't know at what age, maybe like the age of 4. I have a picture on my Stay Free album.
I've seen it.
That's me, and I think when I look at it, I just intuitively understand that was the last time that I was a child, and I think that was at 4 years old. And after that point, I became very reclusive. I became very not inward, but just disassociated and dysregulated from just my environment. So I can't remember anything from that age up until probably 14.
Wow.
Because I just because my environment was just so very traumatic, just living in high crime areas, violent areas, and dealing with violence inside of my home every day until I was like 18. And so just verbal violence, verbal abuse, and physical abuse, and mental abuse. Just so a lot of my childhood just was painful, very painful and very traumatic. Sorry.
Yeah.
But that's just, for me, it was never, blaming or trying to, like, many times I wanted to die, and many times I contemplated suicide. But just understanding, or just being me, like, I'm a very resilient person. I'm a very optimistic person. And so even amidst all of this trauma and violence, I still just a slither of not hope, but a light. Just this person that you're seeing now, this person was there, the whole time. And so, understanding that in the context of your question, it's just understanding that life is difficult for all of us. We all have our traumas. We all have our flaws. We all have our stories, but those stories are meant to bring out the very best in us. So, it's like wherever you are, whatever you've experienced, use it as a tool for greater understanding. Try to use it as a tool. Understand that it is a tool for your awakening, for your unfolding, for you to return back to what you truly are. And, I tell myself my pain is my greatest blessing, because every day it has something to teach me. Even just sometimes, like when I'm sitting like this, I feel pain, but out of this pain comes wisdom, because the deeper I go, not the deeper I go into the pain, but the more I feel it, the more wisdom comes out of that.
The more you're aware of it,
Yeah,
the more
truly.
conscious you are of it.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah, a dear friend of mine talks a lot about how we learn more from rock bottoms than we do from mountain tops.
Yes.
And you can see the greatest thinkers, the greatest, most conscious people that I know in my life,
Right, yeah.
have had to deal with some seriously extreme situations. But what makes them great is not that they wallow in the pain alone, but rather they try to see not why is this happening to me, but what is this trying to teach me?
Right, yeah.
Not why is this happening to me, but what is this trying to teach me? And if we live our lives in such a way where we are just even minutely conscious that right now, fine, I can't connect the dots going backwards, but someday, in some form, this moment, this traumatic moment, this depressing moment, this dark moment will bring light to another person's life.
Right, yeah.
That in itself is so hope-giving. And not to minimize, like not at all. I hope I don't come across like I'm minimizing trauma at all.
Yeah.
And if I am, then please forgive me. That's not my intention. It's more just to kind of see everything as traction for greater joy.
I love that.
On the flip side, do you want to share with us your greatest joy in spirituality? Maybe a moment where you felt a deep connection. If it's too private, then I understand. But as far as personal as you can go in terms of a joyful moment of connection.
Well, probably through another traumatic experience that I went
wow.
through. I had a gun to my head, to the back of my head. And in that moment, I just surrendered to life, and I just was chanting Hare Krishna. And the guy shot me, and I woke up. I started running, and well, no, I didn't wake up, but so I got shot in the back of the head. I blacked out, totally blacked out.
Wow.
And when I got up, a surge of, not joy, but a surge of just energy came into me, and I just started running through the neighborhood, and went to the ambulance and had surgery, got out the next day. The next day was just full of just overflowing joy after the depression, after the feeling of, feeling used and abused and lied to. But after that feeling came a joy. After that darkness came, like you said, after that darkness came light, and that light was joyous, that light was blissful, that light was just happiness. And from that moment on, my life has been that. Now, there's been dark times, but majority of that has been all light and all joy.
Wow.
And it's still all light and all joy after going through my darkest night. And so everything else fails in comparison to that dark night. And so after that, it's just been an ever increasing joy, an ever blossoming joy, an ever increasing happiness. And so after we face our darkest days, we can take things lightly. We can take things lightly and understand that, it's all working for a greater good. I've experienced my worst days already. Let me find the joy in this moment. Let me find leave even a little bit of joy in this moment. Let me seek that. Let me find that. Even if it's someone else's smile or smiling at a stranger, let me create that, or let me seek that. Because we can always create it as well. We don't have to seek it. Where's the joy? Where's the joy? Let me just be joyous now. Let me just be happy now. Let me just be and be happy.
Wow, that blows my mind. Yeah, Rumi talks about the dark night of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Mm-hmm.
And there comes a time, I think, for each and every one of us where that darkness of feeling alone, feeling there is no hope, the dark night of the soul where we feel that we're knocking on the door of God, but there is no answer from the other side.
Mm-hmm.
The dark night of the soul where it feels there is no light at the end of the tunnel. Is probably the closest we can come to realizing the next morning that I have so much to live for, so much, someone once spoke to me about how each morning when I rise from the bed, if I just look in the mirror and acknowledge I've got 2 gifts that I've opened, my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
If I wake up and I recognize that I've got 2 ears that can hear joy, there's an opportunity if we look for it.
Yeah.
It's blowing my mind just hearing. I didn't know about this shooting.
Yeah.
This is something
I
new to
shared
me.
here and there, but it's not something that
Sure.
I speak out about because I don't want to continue to give a reality to it.
Of course.
I've experienced it. It has made me who I am today, but to continue to affirm it, even though it may help other people, because we tend to compare. So if he's went through that and he's become this person, whatever I'm going through is not as
Sure.
deep. But so I don't like to put people in that situation. But it's just something that I've healed from, I've grown from, and it's just like it's not a story that although it's a part of my story, it's just not a story that I tell all the time because it's deeper than that. Most people won't understand, so I scratch the surface of it and let it be that. But Yeah. On the other side of darkness, there is light, but you can't go deeper into the darkness. You have to go into the light.
Wow.
Yeah, you have to go into the light.
Wow.
Because we can go deep into darkness, but we will only find more darkness.
Yeah.
We have to choose light and enter light.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I don't really speak much about the darkness because we can go deep into it, and it has its purpose going into
Sure.
the darkness to just explore for the sake of exploring, but knowing that only love is real, only light is real, only God is real, and everything else is play. Everything else is play.
Everything
Yeah.
else is play. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I want to talk now about a new joy that's soon to enter into your life. We're both to-be parents.
Yes.
Well, I'm already a father, but my wife's expecting the second.
Congrats.
And Dr. Shelley is expecting your first.
Yes.
And I couldn't be happier for you. And I guess for any parent that's listening or any prospective parent, I'm curious even to hear about how is it that you're going to try to impart spiritual wisdom with a child. I've had my fair share of experience in the last 2 years with my son, and it's no easy journey for sure. But I'd like to hear, do you have any plans for sharing spirituality with the new soul?
I think that my child would be much more of a teacher to me than I am to
Wow.
the child. I think because they come out dripping in bliss. They come straight from source.
Okay.
On your couch, on your front door, like from your belly right there in front of you. So it's more so, me and my wife, we talk about this all the time, observing and absorbing, like just the child's bliss, the child's nature, because, I didn't experience myself as a child. So it would be much more of an experience for me to witness a child just in their newness, just in their essence, as a teaching. And so I don't have any plans of just imparting anything on my child, but more so allowing my child to be a spiritual companion and a teacher, sort of teacher to me. Of course, having conversations even before they can understand, but, having conversations, just being myself, because I believe my entire life has prepared me for this moment. So there is nothing that I need to actually go out and acquire to be
Right.
able to provide my child with the tools, but being in tune with the child and allowing the child to be a child, and just being intrigued by the wisdom that they already possess, being intrigued by what they already possess.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, they come in, they're dripping in bliss, they're dripping in it, literally dripping in it, and you just have it, to be around it is auspicious, know.
Right. Yeah, it's like my guru told me when we had the first child. He said, "Welcome to the life school," and I was like, "What do you mean life school? I'm the one that's given the schooling," But it's really been the other way around.
Yeah.
To tune into being inquisitive.
Yeah.
To tune into seeing things for the first time again. That's been magical to be able to see how my son touches something and then doesn't know what the texture will be. And then you think, wow, divinity, God, the Almighty, the Supreme Truth has created everything so variegatedly. Everything's so different. Every person's so different. And to see him interact with others as well has been so magical. So you're right. It's definitely a life school of humility, of tolerance, of awakening to things as they are.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you, man.
Seeing them as a newborn.
Yeah.
I think we should also possess that spirit of seeing things as newborns. To see like we're seeing it for the first time. I've talked to you probably not hundreds, but tens of times.
Yeah.
But this is a new conversation, and this is a new version of you. You've grown since the last time we spoke. You've evolved since the last time you spoke, and you've come with all those tools into this conversation. Everyone in here is adding to the conversation because this is the first time meeting them,
Right.
but they've come in their newness. They've come in their fullness, and we are all meeting each other in our newness, our newbornness, and we're having a conversation. Some are silent, some are talking, but we're all in the newness of this moment. And I think children just teach us to be in the newness of this moment, because this moment has never come and it's gone just like that. And so we can marvel at it. We can just have a moment of silence in it because it's new and we've never seen it in this way. And we've never been here in this way.
Yeah, and it speaks volumes about community and the importance of associating with those that give us life. Like, there may be people that listen to this podcast that have no desire for kids, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I think,
Listen, I had no desire.
Really?
I had no desire for kids. It wasn't even in my awareness. But again, like I told you earlier, offline, that life has plans
Yeah.
for you that you don't have for yourself.
I remember speaking about that.
And I talk about surrender. You have to learn that. That surrender will take you further than you can ever go on your own. Because again, I hadn't had no desires of having kids or even getting married.
Wow.
My life was, for me, was planned out as a hermit, and just living in
I can see that.
living in solitude and enjoying meditation and bliss, and putting out albums here and there and writing books here and there. But life has greater plans. Life has greater and bigger plans when you trust life in that way. If you can if you trust life in that way.
Yeah. It's learning to trust, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a
That's
big
the
lesson
journey
in
of life.
trust. Yeah.
Learning to trust the right people, or learning where to place your trust. It's like one of the early lessons when you're trying to find the right clique of friends, the right people to bring you into a life less ordinary. And then slowly, as you get older, to find the right relationships that are intimate, that you can trust in. Later, as we evolve, we want to try and trust in God more and more and develop that relationship. Life is just a journey of relationships.
Yeah, it is. It's one big relationship
One big
with
relationship.
yourself.
Yeah.
One big relationship with
Yeah.
yourself. You're just meeting yourself with different faces,
Yeah.
meeting yourself in different forms. And it's as Ram Dass says, we're just walking each other home.
Right.
Walking each other home.
Right.
And it's once you realize it's that and see it as that, it gets much more playful,
Yeah, it does.
if you will. You learn to play in the play.
You can't play on it by yourself,
No, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't. For some time, but it gets boring.
Gets boring.
It truly gets boring. So you need a friend, you need a companion, you need something outside of yourself to even know that you're there, that you
Yeah.
exist. If you're just all alone, do you exist?
Yeah. I was talking to another friend about this, and it's one of the reasons why I consciously decided to brand my stuff when I'm sharing kirtan and mantra chanting and meditation as Radhika Das and Friends, because I just love doing what I do with other people.
Yeah, with other people.
And I'd find it really hard to just travel and to chant if I was just a lone man sitting on a stage trying to present this beautiful philosophy of bhakti and kirtan and mantra, if I was completely on my own. And it just gives me so much life to be able to grow, evolve, share with others, alongside others. And so it's a conscious decision. It's definitely not just, make the crew look really super cool and full on the stage. But I'm too much of an extrovert. I really need to be around people. Even while we're recording this podcast, we're sat here with another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people sitting behind the cameras and the audio equipment and prompting me, etc. But it's because I like the journey with many. And it's like this, that alone we can go fast through life, but together with the right association we can go far. We can journey much, much further, and that journey becomes much more beautiful. So I'm really, really happy that you and Dr. Shelley are having your first.
Overjoyed and excited. Yes.
Yeah, let's see what the future holds.
Let's see.
Whole army of Londrelles walking the planet. Can you imagine?
We'll see. I don't have the vision of it, but again,
Sure.
it's God's life. It's God's life, and it just trusting it's all for, because I know what I'm seeking, and everything that comes into my vortex, everything that comes into my experience is taking me there. So I've set my dial, I've set my GPS. I know where I want to go, and just trusting the journey along the way. Because I can determine the destination, but the journey is totally up to God.
Yeah.
The journey is totally up to God, and just surrendering to the journey.
Surrendering to the journey.
Yeah.
Londrelle, I'm super grateful that you're here, and we're getting close to the end of our time together, but I want to end with some quick fire questions. 1 word, 1 sentence answers, and these are some good ones. So you ready for them?
I think so.
Cool, let's do it. First one, what's the best advice you've ever received?
Be here, be now.
Be here, be now. Worst advice you've ever received?
Be here, be now. Truly.
I want to hear more about that one.
The best advice to be here, be now. It's like it's all here and you can't escape it.
Yeah, right.
The worst advice is be here, be now. It's all here and you can't escape it. And so you take the good with the bad and just be here. at the end of the day, just be here. It works both ways,
Yeah.
but it works for the greater good,
Beautiful.
better than the lesser good.
Beautiful. Okay, third one. Something special about your partnership with Shelley.
It really takes me deeper into God realization, love, appreciation, and surrender daily. Through loving her, I learned to love God. And through loving God, I learned to love her even more.
Amazing. God bless you, Shelley. Something people misunderstand about you.
What do people misunderstand? This is going to be a difficult one. It's not one answer. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how people perceive me. I'm just being. I'm just being. I'm not worried about how it comes out. However it comes out, I'm just being, and so I don't see myself. I don't think if I thought it was like a misconception. I know this is more than one word, but
That's cool. We'll let you.
I don't see myself. I'm just being, and so I'm not just like, oh, I'm Londrelle, I'm this person. I know myself, but I don't see myself. Yeah.
Jay Shetty says it so perfectly that we live in a perception of a perception. I'm not what I think I am.
Yeah.
I'm not what you think I am.
Yeah.
I am what I think you think I am.
Yeah.
You know, living in a perception of a perception of a perception of reality, and it can really screw us up.
Yeah,
you know?
it really does.
So being careful about how we perceive what others perceive of us.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
truly.
Thank you. And last one, if you could create one rule or one law that everyone in the world had to follow, what would it be?
Be here, be now, be love. That's it. That's all. That's like my life's philosophy. Be here, be now, be love. Everything. If you do that, everything will fall in alignment. Everything will work out for the greater good, not only of you but for everyone. So if that can be a rule, be here, be now, be love.
Thank you. Thank you so much
Thank
for your
you.
time, brother. I really appreciate you.
Saddened that the conversation.
What to do? We
as
could do
the
this
end.
for hours and hours, but I'm just
Yes.
conscious that, you know, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but
Yeah.
more that you've taken the time to be here to speak so beautifully with us, to share with us your life's journey, to share with us the hardships, the joys, the trade-offs between material and spiritual, and that last wonderful phrase, be here, be now, be love. I really
Yeah.
appreciate. Thank you so much for being here with us. For everyone that's listening, I want to stay connected with each and every one of you. This is the first podcast
Very
of this series, and I'm really excited to have future guests on here. We called the podcast For Soul's Sake, and we're doing it for soul's sake. We're doing it not only for the souls that are listening, but also for my sake and for the growth of my consciousness, to understand how spirituality can impact and open up beautiful, joyful realities for so many that we're hoping to have as guests here with us. So please feel that there's permission to listen to this podcast more than once. There's some beautiful truths that I think Londrelle shared, and I think that you can feel free, have the permission to re-listen to this, have the permission to hear the truth that is spoken, hear the beautiful insights that are spoken. And if you found this conversation interesting, then drop it a share, drop it a beautiful comment or something of that effect to boost the size and the audience of this conversation so that more people can be part of it. And I'm looking forward to the next one. Until then, Londrelle, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.
See you next time on For Soul's Sake.